Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones, and yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Just want to let you know that the State of the Saints podcast is powered by BETUS. You can sign up today, get up to 150% on your first deposit and up to 125 on your second and third, up to $2,000. Use the promo code YouTube150. Well, Who Dat Nation, I want to start off by thanking everyone who came over to watch Saints Talk with Timothy J. Jones, the live stream on Bleacher Report. Talked a little bit about some of the off-season, things the Saints need to work on in order for them to, look more formative in 2025. So if you have not checked that out, it is available on Bleacher Report. I'll make sure that I put that link down in the description so people can be able to check it out when you can. But on this edition, we're going to be talking about, Kellen Moore as of right now. Upon making of this live stream, the Saints have yet to sign Kellen Moore officially as their head coach, but all signs indicate that they will. I look at the New Orleans Saints. I think that they have their guy. They wanted Kellen Moore ever since, I guess, the head coaching search didn't go the way that they wanted it to go. They were very adamant, it seems, that Kellen Moore is their guy. Kellen Moore was pretty much, mum's the word, so to speak, when it comes to like some of the questions that were asked to him about his head coaching issues, not issues, but head coaching opportunities. Like he didn't really, expound on anything. He kept on like just kind of deflecting, saying he's focused on the game. I think that, it's more than likely going to happen. I think what we're dealing with right now is just the New Orleans Saints were just following protocol. I think that they were following protocol. They probably did meet with Kellen Moore, but they allowed him to be able to focus on the Super Bowl, to focus on, what he needed to do in order for Philly to bring home a championship, and they did. So I do feel like, they'll get something done. I understand, like, as long as this thing lingers, Saints fans are going to start to get worried. It's going to start to get a little bit nervous. But unless, like, something happens, like, I don't know, maybe they just can't come to terms when it comes to, like, certain personnel or something like that, or maybe a salary. That's the only reason I can see it not happening. But I think that, more than likely it will happen. What day? I thought it more than likely would have been today, but it wasn't. But, at least not right now. The day is still going on. We still got a couple hours here on this Monday. But look, I just think that it is more than likely going to happen. So that's the reason I'm kind of approaching this show the way that I am right now, because, his star, I'm talking Kellen Moore, his star has never been brighter than what it is right now. I think the last image that we all had of Kellen Moore was his offense, or his team rather. I don't want to say his offense. The defense scored a touchdown as well, but his offense put up a lot of points in that game. They put up 34 points or something like that, So as far as I'm concerned, his star is bright. People are excited about it, and it made Saints fans excited about it. I think that Saints fans kind of looked at it like endless possibilities. But I just wonder, like, what can he bring to the table? Like, what can he do in order to make the New Orleans Saints a more formidable football team? Like, what can he do to make this team even better? There's a lot of talk about what the Saints are going to do with Derek Carr. We've talked about that on the last couple of episodes about what the Saints need to do with Derek Carr. I feel like the Saints need to cut him. I think they need to move on from him. But, I mean, it's really up to the New Orleans Saints organization. But I think, and I honestly believe that if Kellen Moore comes to the Saints, I think that they might end up moving on from Derek Carr. I think that he'll probably more than likely, embrace the developmental process with Spencer Rattler as his quarterback, or he'll probably try to draft a formidable quarterback in the draft like Jackson Dart or something like that, a guy that he can call his own, or maybe like he can get a running back. I know that a lot of people have been talking about Ashton Genty and what he can actually do with Kellen Moore. I don't know. I'm not sure about any of that, but all I know is, I think that he wants to start fresh. The one thing that Kellen Moore has going for him is the Saints aren't going to rush this process. When I'm talking about rushing, I mean, like, they're not going to expect for him to just win right away. And I've been reading the pulse of the Who Dat Nation, in regards to how they feel. And a lot of Saints fans are pretty logical. They're saying that they feel like, like they're going to give him some time. They're not going to sit up here and just criticize everything that that he does. They understand that the Saints have some issues, and him coming along, is one of those situations where you have to roll up your sleeves. But, there's a lot of talk about, if Kellen Moore comes to the New Orleans Saints, who is he going to bring with him? A lot of people think that he was going to bring Nussmeier with him, a guy who served as his quarterback's coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. He'll come along with him, maybe serve as his offensive coordinator, even though Kellen Moore will be calling plays. And there's also a story going out about a certain ESPN analyst that could be added to Kellen Moore's coaching staff, and it's Dan Orlowski. A lot of us know him from being on ESPN, on Get Up and First Take, but he was on First Take today, and he pretty much signed off, and it sounded like it wasn't just going to be because the NFL season is over. It can have a lot to do with the fact that maybe he's stepping down completely to do something else. I'll let you hear it for yourself.
You guys know this is the end of the season for me, certainly for RC as well. I'm taking a break, won't be on TV for a long time, but just want to say thank you to guys, Stephen A. Miles, Shannon, for a great season. Love being with you guys. I love y'all. Never know what the future holds, but I'm taking a break. I'm sure RC is as well. So just want to say thank you. Appreciate you guys so much.
Appreciate you.
All right, we love you, Dan.
So as you can see, man, like, a lot of people was like, man, that kind of came out of nowhere, because Dan Orlowski, I mean, he is highly touted at ESPN. There was a time where he was up for a new contract, and you had like several other networks that were throwing money at him, and ESPN understood how much of an asset he was. He was a really good color commentator. A lot of people felt like maybe his name would have been thrown into the Monday Night Football race if Joe Buck and Troy Aikman did decide to take it. He's well respected when it comes to his analytical ability, being an analyst, putting up, understanding numbers, putting things together, and also just being a really good analyst. I have nothing but respect for him. I like the way that he thinks. Sometimes I think that he can go way out in left field, but he always come through with the analytics, man. Like he's always prepared. But the reason why I'm saying this is because the way that he just abruptly just stepped down, it kind of just came out of nowhere for him to say that. And then all of a sudden, there was this article that came out. This is courtesy of MSN, and it says that this is the title. It says, "A surprise ESPN personality may be joining the Saints coaching staff." And it says a surprise TV personality may be joining the New Orleans Saints coaching staff. Dan Orlowski, Kellen Moore's old teammate on the Detroit Lions, shared a vague sign-off message on Monday morning on ESPN. And he said, and you all heard he says, you guys know this is the end of the season for me, certainly, as well as co-host Ryan Clark. As well, I'm taking a break. Orlowski said, won't be on TV for a long time. Never know what the future holds, but I'm taking a break, and I'm sure RC is as well. So, I mean, a lot of people wondering what that actually meant, but it could mean that this could be an opportunity for Dan Orlowski to be on the coaching staff. Look, I know what people think about when they talk about Dan Orlowski. The first thing that they think about is him running out of the back of the end zone when he was the quarterback of the Detroit Lions. Also, he was the quarterback during the time when they were the first team in NFL history to go 0-16. But everybody can't be, a Patrick Mahomes. Everybody can't be a Tom Brady, a Drew Brees, right? I mean, there's levels to this. There's a pecking order, and I think that he found his place in the sun. Being an analyst, being able to understand football, and I think that he has like really good football knowledge. And if he can share that as a member of the coaching staff, I have no problem with that. I think that if you're a Saints fan, you've been clamoring for change for I don't know how long, right? You've been clamoring for change. You've been clamoring for this team to try to do something different, to think outside of the box. So if Dan Orlowski does join the coaching staff of Kellen Moore, once the deal is signed, sealed, and delivered, I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with it at all. I actually think that he will have something to offer a football team. And I also think that he wouldn't be doing this if, that wasn't in his future. Because like I mentioned, Dan Orlowski was highly touted. When his contract was up at ESPN, you had other networks that were trying to acquire his services. So it's not like he can't, if ESPN is giving him the runaround about contracts or whatever, it's not like he can't go to another network and find a job and be able to contribute in a major way. All right. Is not a big deal. So I really think that maybe that is in the future. I mean, I kind of found it funny too. He mentioned RC, taking a break too. I don't think that has anything to do with the direction that Orlowski is going in. Maybe he felt like the break that he was talking about with Ryan Clark involved, them not being around because football season is over. But it should be interesting, man, to see if he ends up being, on the Saints coaching staff or what his future holds as, being an NFL personality or end up being an NFL coach. Either way, I mean, I wish Dan Orlowski all the luck in the world and, whatever he decides to do in the future. But let me go ahead and read some of your comments, and then we'll go ahead from there. It says, keep Rattlesnake, get rid of Carr. Says, aren't the Saints meeting with Moore again? Yeah, they should be meeting with him. Probably meeting with him right now, as far as we know. At this point, TJ, we need competency. It says if Moore and his staff are just competent, let's see, we're on the right track. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that I definitely feel like, you definitely need some competence when it comes to this football team. I just think that people want to see this team go in the right direction. I think that they want to see this team, show some fight. And I also just want them, I think the team needs to be a little bit better and show flashes of things to come. I think if you do that, then I think you'll be fine. So if you can show some competency, as a coach and, and be able to develop players and draft and use the players that come in and be able to utilize them in a major way, I think that everybody will be okay with that until they figure this thing out. I agree. Let's move with Rattler. TJ was adding, brother, what's going on? What's going on, Nola? Appreciate you for being here, man. Appreciate that. Scroll down a little bit. Says, I hope we get Aaron Rodgers. I think you're on your own on that one, man. And it's not the fact that, I'm not looking at, Aaron Rodgers, look what he did for the Jets. Look, if let's just be real about this. If the Saints replace Derek Carr with Aaron Rodgers, that's a better quarterback. There's a better quarterback situation. I got more confidence in Aaron Rodgers to be able to lead the Saints to victory than Derek Carr. But what I said on yesterday's episode, like, go ahead and check it out. My issue is, what are you doing? Right? I feel like a Aaron Rodgers type quarterback is the type of quarterback where a team feels like they probably just need somebody to, like how Peyton Manning was in his last season with Denver, right? They had a lights out defense. They were able to make stops. They just need Peyton Manning to get the ball down the field, dink and dunk, you know what I'm saying? Make the right decisions, get the ball to the tight ends and the wide receivers, and the defense will handle the rest. That's the reason why a lot of people may not realize Von Miller was the Super Bowl MVP when they played against Carolina. It wasn't Peyton Manning. So that's probably like the type of situation that he needs to go into. Like the Saints, they not close. They're not close, folks. They are not close at all. So I just feel like starting Aaron Rodgers would be a waste of time. It would be a waste of time. It would be a waste of Aaron Rodgers' time. It would be a waste, of everybody else's time. Because what are you actually doing? Right? Aaron Rodgers, 41, 42 years old? They're probably not going to play past next year. So if Aaron Rodgers puts you in elite territory, like let's just say like he have you winning 10, 11 games, then he go ahead and he retires. Guess what? Now, you know what I'm saying, if he leaves, he decides to step down and retire, who's going to be his successor? If you already just if you're bringing in Aaron Rodgers, you pretty much just said to Spencer Rattler, guess what, my friend? Yeah, like we like you, but we don't love you. So that means that you already conceded that he's not the quarterback of the future. So, and then if he's winning 10, 11 games, got you in the playoffs, and he leaves and retires, now you picking like 18, 19. Are you going to be able to get a future franchise quarterback at that position? Probably not. So to me, like, what are you actually doing? What are you doing it for? What are you doing it for? Like, you'll be wasting everybody's time. You'll be wasting your time, and you'll be wasting Aaron Rodgers' time. So roll with Spencer Rattler, roll with the young guy, roll with a seasoned veteran that can come in, be able to compete alongside Spencer Rattler, let the best man win. And if Spencer Rattler isn't everything that you need him to be, guess what? You've already found out that he's not the future. And now you can move on and understand that now you need a quarterback. But it's best for you to know right now than for you to be guessing and wondering, do you need one? So I just say give him an opportunity. Allow him to have it in his second year to be the starting quarterback, put a supporting cast around him, fix your offensive line so you can run the football, so you don't have to be that quarterback to have to put the whole entire team on his back. And when he can't deliver, it just looks really, really bad. Like, just put a team around him. Get that offensive line straight where you can run the ball with Alvin Kamara and another running back. Get yourself a wide receiver that can be a big target for him. Get those yards after the catch. Be able to demand a double team so guys like Shaheed and Olave can eat. That's what you do. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers to me is designed for a team that's maybe like a quarterback away from really being a true contender. All they need is like an opportunity. TJ, off topic, but do you think John Cena is going to win the Elimination Chamber to win a title in his farewell tour? Look, as a wrestling fan, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. And to be honest with you, based on what I seen on Friday, and look, I started doing this. I want to let everybody know this. It's called TJ Knows Wrestling, right? It's like a 7 to 10 minute clip where I have like certain topics about different things about wrestling, right? Because I've been watching it again because number one, Paxton is starting to get into it. And number two, is exciting again. So I actually am going to be making a video to discuss that particular topic. And the way that it's looking, I'm telling y'all, the way that it's looking is looking like the main event that y'all thinking is going to happen is not going to happen. And I'll just leave it at that. But yes, I think that he's probably going to win the Elimination Chamber. and he's going to face who you may not think that he's going to face, especially the way that Friday night set up. I'm just saying. Let's see. Defense regressed bad this year. Only one, two key injuries. Everyone else regressed or was a non-factor. Kool-Aid has potential. All right, so let's see. Happy Monday, Hootats. Says Carr not liked on or off the field. I think that, man, I just think that whole Super Bowl week and him not showing up, I just, that just kind of, I think it rubs Saints fans the wrong way, especially what a lot of Saints fans were like saying to me, saying like, man, why wasn't he there? You can't show up at all. When are we gonna get the mock draft, TJ? Actually, man, I've done some mock drafts on social media. But man, normally, when I do these mock drafts, when I present them to you, Senior Bowl is over, Combine is over. So in a couple of weeks, I'll be headed to Indy to cover the Combine, in a couple of weeks. So after that, I'll put something out for everybody. And see what because I want to be able to look at everybody. I didn't get a chance to go to the Senior Bowl, I didn't get a chance to do that. And like I said, going to the Combine, you get a chance to not only look at some of the guys that competed in the Senior Bowl, but also some of the underclassmen that are going to take part in the Combine. So I think I'll be able to make a fair assessment based on that. And also, man, just now that the season is over, everything just been so crazy. Haven't really gotten an opportunity to really sit down and look at some of these players that kind of fit the positions of needs for the Saints. So, I get opportunity to do that. Now that the season over, I'm kind of dialed into it. Let's see. Kellen Moore likes to run the run game, so Kamara will have a heavy role. Actually, Arvin, he doesn't. But that's the thing I respect about him. The fact that he's not a run first offensive mind. He's not. But he understood what he had in Saquon Barkley, so he kind of reverted. You know what I'm saying? Like he kind of like switched the roles here. You know what I'm saying? Like he just switched up and went from like being more of a pass happy type offensive play caller to like a run first because he understood what he had in Saquon. That's what you want. If the passing game is rolling and your quarterback is looking apart, yeah, utilize him. But if you can get Alvin Kamara rolling, and Alvin Kamara had 3 straight 100-yard games or something like that, or all-purpose yards, and he just out there acting a plum fool, running and catching the ball, like I like the fact that I know that he would utilize whatever works. It's not one of those coaches like, man, we're gonna force this thing to work. So with that, I just think that that's the type of coach you want. That type of coach that's not going to just make something work just for the simple fact that that's his calling card. So, TJ, do you think we actually have a chance in drafting Ashton Jeanty? I think the Saints do. You look at the NFL draft, you look at the teams that actually need certain things. Running back is not one of them. I don't see any of those teams before the New Orleans Saints picking Ashton Jeanty. So I think they'll have a chance to do it. Will they do it? I don't know. I mean, they might be a player that you just can't pass up that is there, that you feel like is more important than drafting a guy that's going to be alongside Alvin Kamara, and Alvin Kamara is going to be that starter. So I don't know, man. I think Charmaine, I really feel like, if you have Mason Graham that's there, you got Mykel Williams that he's there, Malachi Starks, like you got way more important things that you can actually draft in positions that are way more important than Ashton Jeanty. I feel like if you do that, then it's probably one of those draft picks that Kellen Moore will probably influence, and you're just trying to give him you're just trying to show him like, okay, we support you, and this is the type of guy that you want. Okay, we'll go ahead and draft. Let's see. No slave mentality, no sellout wrestling, ain't fake, it's script. Yeah, like, yeah, man, it's scripted, but I mean, it's definitely exciting. I mean, it's definitely exciting. I think it's probably in the best place it's been in I don't know how long, because I kind of stopped watching it for a while. That can be the writing on the wall. Trade Olave, our best wide receiver. Y'all smoking dope. Well, look, if look, it's not that crazy, Nola. I'm gonna tell you why, right? It's crazy if you don't get something in return for like of some value. Like if you draft, like let's just say for example, if the Saints draft McMillan with the 9th pick, I mean, it to me it's kind of like a Brandon Cook situation. Was Brandon Cooks the number one receiver when he was drafted out of Oregon State? Yes, he was. But then in 2016, Michael Thomas came along, and Michael Thomas kind of surpassed him as a wide receiver. So, did at any time did you miss Brandon Cooks when Michael Thomas was running rampant in the NFL? Like when he was taking a league by storm, catching everything. Did one time did you sit back and like, man, I really miss Brandon Cooks? No, because like you understood, like, okay, Brandon Cooks got traded to the Patriots. The Saints, they got a first round pick in exchange, and they got a dog as a number one receiver that don't make you miss this guy. If the Saints were to trade Chris Olave and they was to get McMillan, and McMillan goes out there in his rookie season looking like how Justin Jefferson looked in his rookie year, you may not like this, but let's just say he gave you some Mike Evans type production. Like, would you get upset that you traded Chris Olave? No. It's only crazy if you don't have a backup plan. Now, trading this guy and not drafting a wide receiver, that's just asinine. But if you have let's just say, for example, like you trade him, and I don't think this is gonna happen, but you trade him and you end up somehow signing T. Higgins. Are you upset? No. If you trade him and you end up getting McMillan, are you upset? No. So it depends on what's the outcome. Like what happens. Because if you get a guy that not only gives you Olave production, but also exceeds Olave's production, you're not really mad. But if you don't have a plan, then yes, I definitely agree. Like that's just absolutely ridiculous. Thank you, TJ, for seeing it my way for trading Olave. Yeah, if you have a plan, if you have look, I want people to understand this. Look, this is what I want y'all to do. And I know this may be controversial to some, but I just want people to understand this. We cannot look at these players from an emotional standpoint. We just can't. Like, I gotta say it. There's no player on this team right now that I look at as like somebody that's not expendable. Like, I don't think any player on this team has immunity. None of them. What player on this team right now can you say, oh man, if we get rid of them, like we ain't gonna be nothing? There's only like maybe a couple players. Eric McCoy and probably Tallahassee Fuanga. Like, as much as I like Alvin Kamara, if the Saints were to trade Alvin Kamara, like you can find yourself another, really good running back. If you was to trade Chris Olave, you could find another receiver to give you the same level of production if you play your cards right. Like Carl Granderson, like you can find somebody that that can get you 5 sacks. Like, come on, man. Like nobody on this team is beyond reproach. Nobody has really solidified themselves to a point where they just can call themselves untradeable. Like I said, for the exception of maybe Eric McCoy and Tallahassee Fuanga. Like those two guys, I feel like can be real true cornerstone players. Like Brian Brzee, like he's showing promise, but I don't feel like any player like is not worth, what I'm saying? Like if somebody call and be like, okay, look, we would like to give you this for, Carl Granderson. It's not to a point where you like, yeah, let me hang up. Like, nah, bro. Listen to what they got to say. What player, like, honestly, what player on this team? What player on this team can you be like, man, I see multi-time all-pro. I see, like, difference maker. I see the guy that, man, they get rid of him, like, there's going to be a huge drop-off. I don't see it. Like I said, for the exception of Fuaga and Eric McCoy, I don't see no other player on this team that I just sit up here and say, man, you know what? Man, they don't need to trade him. They better not trade him. They ain't got that. And that's the problem, folks. They don't have that player that just stands out amongst the crowd. You got players that at one time, you know what I'm saying, they stood out. But if you look at their age and, you know, the lack of production, like they not what they used to be. Good players, still good locker room leaders, still can contribute, but it's not to a point where you just feel like, oh man, I can't be without them. Nobody on this team is beyond reproach. Nobody. I don't like it. There's not a, like I said, for the exception of Fuaga and Eric McCoy, there's not a player on this team. If somebody say, man, we need to trade him, that I don't feel like that should be, you know, not considered if you can actually get a really good draft pick for him, or a player that can actually help you out. Like how the Saints traded Jimmy Graham to Seattle, but they got Max Unger in the process. Like, how good was Max Unger? The Saints have yet to find a tight end that will, you know, that replicated what Jimmy Graham was for you. But did Max Unger make you feel like it was a waste of a trade? Absolutely not. So that's what I'm talking about. I don't think anybody is beyond reproach. You see, Brazil, Fuaga, and McCoy are like the only ones that might be safe. Maybe it'll be dependent on if you're getting a certain deal in return. Yeah, if you're getting a certain deal for them, like you're telling me right now, if a team calls up the New Orleans Saints and be like, look, guys, we'll give you, let's just say this is a playoff team. Let's just say it's like the Washington Commanders or something like that, like picking like 27, 28 or something like that, right? And they call you and be like, we'll give you our first round pick for Chris Olave. You telling me like you wouldn't consider that? You telling me you wouldn't consider that? Like if the Patriots was to call me like, we'll give you a second round pick for Chris Olave, I think that should be considered. I'm serious, folks. Like we got to start thinking like we can't sit up here and criticize the organization and talk about how they look at this thing like a family-oriented organization and how everybody all buddy, but we have emotional attachments of our own. Oh no, we can't get rid of him. Nah, we can't get rid of him. Why not? Why not? Like I said, I haven't seen a player on this team that I just sit up here and just say, man, you know what? Man, if they lose him, man, they got something. Like I said, maybe 2-3 players that you can really say that about. Other than that, I'm listening. I'm listening to all phone calls. I ain't saying trade everybody. I'm listening to the phone calls. I feel like Paulson Adebo is definitely need TJ regardless if he had a few grabby moments. But look how bad we looked after his injury, big brother. Yeah, I agree, Cartel. Like, man, I like Paulson Adebo. Like, man, I know that, like you said, he a little grabby and stuff like that. But at the same time, man, the dude was like, he led the team in interceptions. Like he was feast or famine. Don't get me wrong, but when he made plays, he made plays. And I like the fact that he had, you know, football amnesia, which I appreciate. And what I mean by that is if he get beat one play or makes a mistake one play, he comes right back and acts as if that play didn't exist, and he makes up for it. So yeah, you know, I'm not, you know, I feel like the Saints need to make him a priority, even though I don't feel like they will, you know. But he'll end up going to a team because he's one, like, yeah, some Saints fans may not feel this way about him, but A lot of teams are looking at this guy as like one of the top cornerbacks in free agency. Like they looking at him like he highly touted, like how people are looking at like T. Higgins and some of these other free agent guys. That's how they looking at Paulson Adebo. And you can scoff all you want to, man, but you know, people scoffed at Zach Bond, right? Scoffed at that. Okay. Now look at him. Like sometimes, man, you go to the right situation, you go to the right team. They coach them bad habits out of you, and the next thing you know, all pro. Next thing you know, shutdown, lockdown, and we mad because the team that got rid of him. I like Paulson Adebo. TJ, I truly believe Adebo can be an all-pro safety. I think he can, like, this may sound crazy. I feel like he can be an all-pro corner. I think he has some really good qualities about himself. Like he has really good hands for a corner. He's tall, he's rangy. I just feel like coaching matters. Like sometimes like you need the coach to help you be able to get those bad habits out of you. And also, sometimes you need that right coach to be able to put you in the right position to succeed. Like, dude have talent. Like, don't let, like, okay, man, he grabbing on to people. And you just think that, okay, man, that's the entire book. That's the book of Paulson. Like, that dude is good, man. I'm telling you. Go to the right situation, go to the right team. I've heard this so many times, man. We just throw players away and they got this going on with them. They got that going on with them. Then they go somewhere else and they just go out there and just ball out, lights out football. Like I just don't like. I don't know what to tell y'all. I don't know how some people can really look at some of these players on this team and not question this coaching staff and the player development. I don't see how you can really just honestly not take that into consideration, especially what we've seen for some of these players leaving his football team and really balling out in other locations, man. Like, I can't just sit up here and just say, oh, man, this dude is just garbage. Like, oh, man, this dude just ain't good. Like, I question the Saints organization and a lot of the decisions. I'm serious. Like, that's why, like, if you notice, I have not really been criticizing any of the young players that have been on this football team since I've, number one, looked at what these other guys have done when they leave the New Orleans Saints. Like, I have not been critical of these players. Why? Because I honestly don't know how good they are. I don't know how good they can be. And I feel like this team, in a lot of ways, their coaching staff let these players down. It's rather they didn't want to make the decision of getting rid of a veteran guy, so they had this promising young talent just waiting in the wings. Like, it's hard for me to sit up here and just say, oh, man, this player just ain't good. That player just ain't good. Like, the Saints done fumbled the bag way too many times for me to sit up here and just and not take that into consideration. And I think that the Saints have fumbled way too many times for you not to take that into consideration. So if you sitting up here talking about all this man garbage, this man can't play, man, they got several players on this football team, at one time or was here before that people said the same thing. And then they go somewhere else and it's a completely different story. There is nothing wrong with keeping a few good veterans, but the bottom line is that the Saints have to get younger. You're right, TJ. Saints need to entertain all phone calls of future draft picks. Yeah, Cedric, look, there's nothing wrong with keeping guys on the team for leadership purposes, but I do feel like it's a young man's game. And I do think that the Saints sometimes are afraid and nervous, and they look at salaries, and that determines who gets on the field, who plays long, even if the player behind them is better. Like, sometimes, man, you just got to look at who like, you got to just look at what this player can bring to the table. And you got to be able to coach these young guys up. That's just the name of the game, man. These players that are getting drafted this year are coming into the league to replace veterans that have been in the league for X amount of years. That's just the truth. Like, I don't care if you're a dog. Like you've been a dog your entire career. Guess what? The team start looking at you, 28, 29 years old. They know you ain't about to play forever. And guess what? That 20-something-year-old kid that's coming fresh out of college, they are set up to be your replacement. So rather, you know what I'm saying, look, if you give us another 3-4 years, that's a plus. But when you start to get older, man, you start getting them injuries, them knee injuries take a little bit longer to heal. And like teams understand that kind of stuff. And they start like drafting your replacements. And that's what you're supposed to do. But, you know, I feel like the Saints in some cases, like they draft these players and they just have them on the bench because they don't want to have that tough decision. That veteran player may have, missed a step. That player may not be as good as they once were. And they allow that young player to just sit on a bench and ride or put them on special teams. Have him out there running down the field as fast as he can, hopefully making a tackle. When this man could be flying all over the field with a level of energy that you can get from a young 20-something. But you try to get that from a 30-plus-year-old, defensive player or offensive player. So, you gotta make the right decisions, man. I just don't trust Mickey. I think that's the narrative right now. I think a lot of people don't trust Mickey Loomis, and justifiably so. I mean, he has yet to really make really good decisions since Sean Payton and Drew Brees left, which the narrative is becoming more and more louder that it was more Sean Payton and Drew Brees than Mickey Loomis. Mickey Loomis fell butt backwards into prosperity, got coaching quarterback, and all of a sudden, your reputation begins to build because you're the guy responsible for bringing them in. But the question is, can you replicate that? And right now, that remains to be seen. I'm gonna take a few more, and then we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here, folks. Says draft the undrafted look at Rashid first 2 touches to the house, then what he grabbed some pine, make it make sense. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was crazy, right? But that shows you right there, like they didn't have a game plan for him. Like that was the only thing that they really had in a books for him. Like, like a lot of questionable decisions, man. A lot of questionable decisions. But no, football, man, you're gonna get your feelings hurt. Like seriously, like if you ever played the game of football, there's one thing that you need to know, and this is something that if you have a kid playing football, like my guy Paxton, he playing football now. I want people to know this. Like, you're going to get your feelings hurt in football. Like, one time, that's just the way that it's set up. You're going to get your feelings hurt due to a loss. You're going to get your feelings hurt due to being benched. You're going to get your feelings hurt due to production. You're going to get your feelings hurt in regards to getting touches. Like, it's just what it is. That's just the way that it goes, man. But when you see a player that has promise, when you see a player like showing flashes, I feel like the next week you should add to that player's arsenal. Back in 2017, I always kind of go back to this story from time to time. Back in 2017, the Saints had Mark Ingram, Adrian Peterson, and a young Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara throughout preseason showed you something that you ain't really see from the Saints. Number one, in the game versus the Chargers, when they played out there, he ran the ball for like 74 plus yards, right? 74-yard touchdown in preseason. Yeah, okay, scoff at preseason. But they always had a play or two for Alvin Kamara. I don't know, a lot of people know this because a lot of people looked at the end of the season, but at the beginning of the season, Alvin Kamara didn't really touch the football like that because he was trying to appease everybody. I'm talking Sean Payton, trying to get Adrian Peterson involved. Everybody know about that famous stare that Adrian Peterson had when he was playing against his former team and he wanted more touches, right? He started yelling at Sean Payton and all that kind of stuff, right? Alvin Kamara was only getting a handful of touches. There was a question. I don't know who asked it. It was a member of the media. I'll never forget this. They asked Sean Payton. There was what do you think about Alvin Kamara and his production so far? And Sean Payton said this. He said, he's doing good. It's really my fault It's really my fault that he is not really doing anything. He said, but that's my job to get him involved. After he said that, the Saints end up making a trade, traded Adrian Peterson away to Arizona, and the rest is history. You start seeing Mark Ingram running the football and Alvin Kamara utilizing him in all different ways, in space, catching ball out of the backfield, all these different ways, right? You know, like that's showing you right there, like, man, we got something special right here, man. Let's not lead this horse in the barn. You know, like what the Saints did with Rashid Shaheed, like, man, jet sweep against the Cincinnati Bengals. And then the next thing you know, there ain't nowhere to be seen. I mean, even with Jimmy Graham, I mean, y'all know the story, man. Jimmy Graham comes into the game, goal line situation, every time, touchdown. Yet you had this man sitting on the bench. Why? Because you don't want to hurt Juwan Johnson's feelings? Like, come on, man. Come on. No disrespect to Juwan Johnson, man, but look, man, as a tight end, he ain't touching Jimmy Graham. As old as Jimmy Graham was in league, you know what I'm saying, by league standards, he wasn't touching him. Saints ain't look like the Saints are not looking for Juwan Johnson in the red zone. Maybe from time to time, but they ain't looking for him like they're looking for Jimmy Graham. Every time Jimmy Graham was in the red zone, they threw him the football, he scored. And yet this man couldn't get no playing time. Somebody please explain that to me, because I don't understand it. Like, if you see somebody that can actually help you and your offense is struggling, aren't you trying to find guys that maybe are diamonds in the rough or coming up with some type of plays in order to make that guys, you know, be able to contribute? If they showed you every time they touch the ball, something magical can possibly happen. I never seen a team cut off their nose and spite their face more than the New Orleans Saints do. Like, I've never seen anything like it. It's like they see something working and they just, okay, yeah, all right, you know, yeah, we scored. Okay, all right, you right here, who, you know, how many 3 carries for you know, -7, no, 10 carries for -17. Okay, bring him back in again. I guarantee he might take it to the house. Well, sir, what about him? He's been touching the ball, been averaging 5 yards a clip. Nah, don't worry about it. Bring that guy right there. Like, what are we doing? Like, I just never understood. I've never seen a team that just battles against themselves like they do. Like, what are we doing? Like, because Juwan Johnson makes a certain amount of money, Jimmy Graham is just, you know, a veteran that just signed on. Like, all of a sudden, like, we got to make this dude work because, you know, he's the young tight end. Look, I don't care. The moment I see Jimmy Graham scoring every time in the red zone, guess what? I don't care if everybody and their mama know Jimmy Graham getting the football. In the red zone, Jimmy Graham, going out there, brother. Going out there, 80. Going out there, we're going to throw you the ball back in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? We're going to throw it up high. You make sure you catch it. That's what I'm going to do. Especially if your offense struggling. And at the time, I think the Saints was averaging about 18 points a game. And you got a red zone threat like that, a red zone nightmare like that, and can't even get them on the field. Like, man, unbelievable. Like, unless the New Orleans Saints, like, later on down the line, like Jimmy Graham has like a tell-all book or something like that, and he you know, he refers to that moment in his book, and maybe something happened in his personal life that prohibited him playing. That's the only excuse that I would accept. But the fact that you actually seen this man score every time he was in the red zone and yet didn't utilize him consistently was just ridiculous. I agree. All good teams always have an awesome tight end. Super Bowl run. We had Shockey. Yeah, I mean, Dave Thomas, too. Let's put some respect on Dave Thomas' name, too, now. Let's see. Arvin, is that what was said about Hurts, Lamar, and Caleb? Let's see. They sure ran Taysom Hill in the ground. Yeah, I don't get it. Probably because of that check. These boys want that money. It seems like they want that production to reflect that check, right? We don't want you just sitting on the bench collecting bread. I mean, unless you Jamal Williams. But, you know, like, if you're making a certain amount of money, like, I don't care if this guy can go out here every time he scored, like every time he touches the ball, he gets a big gain. he ain't making enough money. Let's send this other dude out here that's been wasting time and space for the last couple of years. Shouldn't have paid him in the first place, but let's go ahead and get him. But anyway, I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. It's been a blast. And we have 275 people watching this. We got as high as 315 on this episode. I just ask that you hit the like button if you enjoy the State of the Saints podcast and all its content. Also, thank you to those that checked out Saints Talk with Timothy J. Jones on Bleacher Report on this Monday night. If you're watching this on a Monday night, I really do appreciate it. Much love to you. We talked about some of the Saints offseason plans and that can help them maybe, be a little bit more formidable in 2025. So make sure you check that out on Bleacher Report. Also, you can follow me on X at TJAY-Jones8 and also on Blue Sky at TJAY-Jones8. Have a good night, morning, afternoon, whenever you're checking out this podcast. And like always, all I got to say is,
thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.